Okay, well, okay, the Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 10th, 2019 is now called to order. Mary Brown, Chairman of the Finance Committee. On today's agenda are CPO 2019-51, an ordinance approving salary and operating budgets for the City of Gary's Community Development Block Grant Program. CPO 2019-53, an ordinance appropriating 2019 budgets for the operating expenses and salaries of grants and special revenue funds for rental inspection program. CPO 2019-54, an ordinance appropriating 2019 budgets for the operating expenses of grants and special revenue funds for the Gary Police Department, and an ordinance revising 2019 appropriations for the general salary budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1 and ending December 31. Present this evening is, starting with our Council President, Mr. Ron Brewer, Councilwoman of the 1st District, Rebecca Wyatt, Councilwoman of the 6th District, Vita Sparks Wade, Councilwoman of the 5th District, Linda Barnes Caldwell, Councilman at Large, Mr. Herb Smith, our Council Financial Advisor, Mr. Virgil Moore. We are ready to start. Our controller's here. Our Chief of Staff is here. Somebody else need an agenda? Is there somebody who doesn't have one?
Yeah, I had a packet and it disappeared.
Your package disappeared?
That's okay. You should.
Okay. So we'll start with CPO 2019-51. That's the one for Community Development Block Grants.
Good evening, council members.
Good afternoon.
We discussed this ordinance at the last finance committee meeting, and questions came up with regard to the budget for the code
Right.
enforcement.
Right.
So if there are any questions about the budget in general, of course you can ask me, but if you'd like, we can just get to that particular ordinance. That's the way we want to proceed.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I'll let the Department of Commerce Director Carl Henderson.
Is the person here who's the Director of Code Enforcement?
Well,
The building commissioner is here.
And
I'm sorry.
the building commissioner is here.
Okay.
And code enforcement is handled out of that department.
That's fine.
Hi.
Hi.
Madam Chair, my name is Carla Henderson. I am Director of the Commerce Department. What I'd like to do is, if with your permission, Madam Chair, is pass out an org chart and help walk through some of the changes that we're proposing that directly affect some of the concerns that were brought up a couple of weeks ago at this committee meeting regarding a 6th code enforcement officer. If that's okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, great. Let's take one.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. May I ask, where is the Director of Code Enforcement?
There's a supervisor?
Yes.
She's not here.
Okay. Because normally we have all come before when we present the budget. And I'd just like to know why she's not present. Yeah.
There was a manager of code enforcement, there was no department head for code enforcement. Code enforcement was under the building commissioner. That's the department head for that. They have building inspectors, code enforcement, rental registration, all under the building commissioner. So it was a manager of code enforcement, there was no department head for code enforcement.
Okay.
Well, we'll let you go ahead and go through this because
Okay.
we all have some questions.
Great.
Well,
Okay.
go ahead.
Thank you very much. So, discussions with the Chief of Staff, thought it might be helpful to explain the proposed reorganization. As you may be aware, we've been working on this for some time as part of the general fund recovery plan and the cost savings. And so the first sheet you'll see, this is currently how we are staffed. The functions of building, zoning, and planning. We have a building commissioner, we have 2 people that basically supervise the code inspectors and the building inspectors. We have an office manager, we have a deputy director of planning, we had a zoning officer, a zoning secretary, and then we had 2 permit clerks. And so after looking at all the job descriptions and the job functions, I've been working with HR and the union to do a reorganization that will, 1, create some efficiencies, 2, save some money. And what I found is if you look at this the way we're currently staffed, I felt like we were a little heavy in middle management. And so if you flip to the next page, this is just an illustration of what's being proposed in the ordinances that Ms. Hayes, I worked on with her. So what we did is we took basically the inspector, coordinator, and the code manager and the office manager, and we made an operations manager. And what that does is that person becomes the point person that knows where the building inspectors are, where the code inspectors are, kind of like the deployment of staff. So, you know, like sometimes somebody will go out to inspect a building and then they'll say, oh, we need code to come out here. And they will be able to kind of traffic control all the requests that are coming in. They will report directly to the building commissioner. You will see that under the code inspectors, funded through Arlene CDBG, those stay as 5, but because we're able to free up some funds, we are recommending that we add a code inspector paid out of the general fund for the district that is currently missing that activity. We also believe that because this person is paid out of the general fund, it allows some flexibility in terms of perhaps they go to the District 1 and there's not a lot of code violations. They can take on zoning inspections as well. So they will basically have a dual role in which they can provide basically better service because they are not tied to the strict, you know, the code inspectors in CDBG can only do certain work. So this allows, because it's paid by general fund dollars, some flexibility on that. The other thing you'll notice is we took the deputy, you've actually done this as part of action that was taken a couple of months ago, where we eliminated the deputy director of planning and the zoning officer, and we made basically a planning director. Because there is some flexibility in the budget, that adds a planner 1 with all the things that are going on in the city with Fulcrum, Majestic, Hard Rock, what's gonna happen in Buffington Harbor. We felt strongly that really needed to have somebody that had technical background, and GIS's position is currently not available right now, so this would be a new position. As well as bring back the rental registration coordinator, because that a couple of budgets ago was eliminated. The other change that is very significant is that we are eliminating the zoning secretary position and the permit clerks. And what we'd like to do is, we've worked with HR to put together a job description that's called a commerce clerk. And this will be part of the one-stop shop that the mayor has talked about. All constituent interactions would happen on the first floor of City Hall, so that'll eliminate the need to go upstairs, to go to zoning, to go to building, to go downstairs to pay. And that is all part of the recovery plan. So we would no longer have a zoning secretary and 2 permit clerks. We would have 3 commerce clerks, and they would have the ability to do things like like we work with the law department to identify what are the things that people come to the law department for. FOIAs, file a claim. They could take those kind of actions, activities as well. It'd be one-stop shop. What's interesting is that CDBG dollars commitment does not change. Neither does the money that we collect and charge back to the rental registration fund. The general fund goes from basically a savings of about $62,688, and when you add on the 31% fringe, That's a total of $82,121. I believe that this is a more prudent way to operate as a municipality. Again, gets rid of some of the, what I won't call middle management, some of the supervisors, puts more down on the inspectors, adding an additional general fund code inspector, as well as 3 commerce clerks that can take care of the paperwork. So I don't know if there's any questions.
I got one.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go back to, on this page, you said the operations manager, what position? How did we get to that? What
We
did we
took the
eliminate?
inspector coordinator,
Mm-hmm,
the code manager,
mm-hmm.
and the office manager, and we created one position called operations manager.
And what's that salary going to be?
The operations manager is gonna be $50,000.
50,000,
Yes.
okay. And what will they be doing?
They will basically be the traffic engineer of all the code. Currently, for instance, our office manager does some of the clerical work. That responsibility will fall on the commerce clerks. You will see that there is a slight adjustment in the salary of what currently the permit clerks make versus the commerce clerks, because they will be expected to perform at a higher level and actually take on more additional responsibilities.
Well, let me say what I need to
Please do.
say. I appreciate this. This is great. But we, as district council people especially, we get beat up day after day after day about code enforcement officers. If we are going to have 6, then we need to have 6. They need to work 6 districts. If you've got a code enforcement officer working in the 3rd district, that person needs to be in the 3rd district. There are enough code violations in that district for them to work with the 3rd district and not have to drive all over town into other districts. I mean, we get beat up constantly about these code violations, and it has really gotten to be old. You know, it's just old. And so I think that if we're going to have 6 code enforcement officers, then they need to work in 6 districts. They don't need to be stretched out over other districts. I mean, that's the way I feel about it.
No,
I think that, pardon?
I'm in agreement.
I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, I drive around in my district a lot. Especially now, that I am not working, I got a lot of time. I drive around in my district
Okay.
and I see an awful lot of code violations, and I've got to believe that if the code enforcement officer who is assigned to the 3rd district is doing their job in the 3rd district, then they've got to see those violations.
Yeah.
I see cars parked up on the grass, I see all kinds of code violations. I'm like, is anybody looking at this? Is anybody looking at this?
Other than you.
Yeah, other than me.
you, yeah.
And I don't believe I'm the only one. I believe my colleagues have the same issues.
Yes.
Absolutely. Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
What you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it, like you said, it gets old because we don't have any direct authority
Right,
to enforce that the workers do what they're supposed to do, or to stay in the district, or we don't even know where they are during the course of the day. And not abdicating any responsibility on our part, because we try to follow up behind the complaints of the residents. But it's just frustrating that, code enforcement officers, you don't know where they are. You don't see them. How many tickets to citations do they write
right.
in the course of a day?
So, Madam Chair? if I may,
Yes.
perhaps we can discuss a way that you're informed in a more timely manner of the activity that is going on in your district. Because I know that, it all falls on me, I'm Director of Commerce. We have had some staff changes. We have a vacancy that we're trying to fill. If you approve this, we'll have another person to add. And what I'd like to do is work with this body to develop a system where we are informing, just to your point of how many citations, how many have been heard, what is the fee, not that we want to get into, I understand, the legislative body and the executive body, but we do owe you that so that you can address your constituents. And
Right.
so I'd really like to work with you on developing a system that we can then implement so that we don't have this conversation.
Okay.
Yes.
The 311,
Yes.
we put those in. My neighbors, they think it's a joke. But I ride
Yeah.
around, I take pictures, I send it in. I don't get the calls anymore telling me the update or whatever. I haven't had any in a while. I mentioned this before. Well, he's putting them in. Well, he's doing this. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know. I know that it's been several occasions that I had to redo it, especially on businesses or something, where I asked Cole to go over there, take a look, cite them, do whatever. And, this last one, I know I did it 2 months ago. And I had to send a request back. What's wrong? Why aren't you all I'm not asking you to do anything that your job doesn't, that you can't do.
Right.
So why? Commander Head responded. Well, I went over there, I spoke with them, and now you're giving this business 30 days to comply, but I asked you 60 days ago, okay? So now here it is. At what point in time do I, the people look at me, oh, she ain't doing nothing, and I hate to hear that. Oh, that councilwoman ain't doing nothing. I promise you I'm trying to do something, but if I'm not getting any help, and then you all come, you want us to pass budgets and change this around and do that, and then we keep on passing budgets and nothing. You understand?
I understand.
And you would be aware of this, Councilman Brewer, the semi trucks that were parked over at the school.
Right. Absolutely.
And and then I have to get on the phone and call the police
Yeah,
department. Hey,
yeah.
there's semi trucks
they
parked
tired
over
of
there,
they
and
tired
that's
of
not
my
one
text
time;
messages,
it's
too.
several times.
You're right.
I'm sorry.
I said they're tired of my text messages too.
Yeah, I mean, we have just been beat up, and we're really frustrated about it. And so, I don't know what we can do to fix it, but we have got to fix this.
Well,
I would like to see a revenue sheet that we have seen where code enforcement has been effective in our city. What type of revenue have they brought to our city with code violations?
Okay.
How many people have we had cited inside our city? And my last question was grabbing the last person out the general fund. I just like to ask, can we afford it? It's one thing that we may want it, but can we really afford it? And if we can't afford it, we need to know, no, we cannot afford it, and how can we work with 5 if we have to? Because I know we are at a strength financially inside the city. So I don't want to just get 6 zoning officers just because we want them, but can we really afford it as a city? And I think we need to be upfront with everyone in the room. Can we really afford this going forward?
I'm making that.
Can I just respond to that last
Yes.
part? The overall savings, even with the 6 code enforcement, you're still saving $60,000 to $80,000. So the overall, with all the changes, is still a reduction in the footprint on the general fund.
But if we can reduce it even more,
that,
does that need to happen?
So
Do
that-
we need to stay with 5? I mean, do we really need to look at these numbers and say,
But
hey,
if we stay with 5, does that take care of our problem?
it may
My
not,
question.
but we need to talk about how do we work with the 5. I think that needs to be discussion.
Well, I don't
want
know.
them to say we want to get 6 and then later on we say we short
I
inside the
don't know
budget.
how we work
So
with
that's
them.
the only thing I'm saying. Don't just give it to it because that's what we want. If we
Okay.
cannot afford it, just say we can't afford it. And we need to learn, see how we can work with the 5 and make sure it's something that we all can agree on going forward.
Well,
Madam
Go ahead.
Mayor.
Yes.
I think that the additional position balances out if they write the code violations and we collect off of the code violations.
Well, that's why I would like to see what
I-
we have been doing thus far.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Yes.
And we would hope that after, cause what I'm looking at is you've moved around the monies, the positions, and this is the same amount that it was before the reorganization, correct?
I'm sorry.
The, general fund,
The general
Right.
fund goes
Right.
from $503,426 to $440.
okay,
So it goes
okay,
down.
okay,
So-
okay, it did go down,
Yeah, and
okay.
I just tried to, figure out what's the best way to operate. Some of the concerns I heard a couple of weeks ago, about the 6 code enforcement officer trying to find a solution. But to Council President's, comment, if you give us, a week, maybe by Friday, what's today, Tuesday, yeah, we can get you that information so that you have an informed decision. I mean, that's our job, to be able to provide that information to you so that you can make the best decision. We'd be happy to do that.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at this, you got a building commissioner, that's an interim. So
Yes.
they're making 65,000?
Correct.
Okay. Operations manager, is that an interim position also?
The operations manager position does not exist currently.
Okay.
That's a new one.
So we'll be, advertising for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, okay, go ahead. I'm just curious, we got an interim making 65,000? We can't take that down, cause I understand we probably not gonna hire anybody this year for it, right?
My flip spot, permanent.
How long this interim spot been open? How long we been working on the interim?
Since Mr. Hawkins retired.
How long is that?
It's been gone for a while.
Yes, it's been a while. That's something to look at. We need to, I need an interim spot. Okay. I'm gonna say what it is, okay? Operations manager, that's taken away from the inspector, coordinator, the code manager, and office manager. So 1, 2, 3, and we go turn that into one.
As I mentioned, Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Some of the duties that the office manager currently is performing will be shifted to the commerce clerk, and that's to justify the additional payment that those asking positions will be making.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, in looking at these new changes, and I agree with the reductions, trying to get the savings. But I'm just looking at, okay, operations manager is taking over inspector, code manager, and office manager. Okay, and now you just mentioned that the operations manager will be given some duties to
She
the
left.
commerce clerk. Do you have a detailed job description?
Yes,
of these folks?
absolutely.
So that we
Yes.
know that everything.
I can send them to you, because I've had to work with HR and the union. I've had several meetings with Ask Me about this, and I would be happy to send it to you.
Really, what we're trying to see is, what I'm trying to
Save
see
some money
is
on that.
everything be
Correct.
accurate.
Yes,
So that,
I can send you all the job descriptions, yes.
I got
You
one more
know,
question.
get there
Oh.
and it don't work. So, okay, if you can let me see. a copy
Yes,
of that, I would
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
You got a
Planning
question?
director.
Okay, Councilwoman.
I just wanted to say that the first district is the district that does not have an assigned code
Mhm.
enforcement
Mhm.
officer.
Yeah.
And so, without, I have no control over the high grass complaints that I get and the debris and the limbs. I've got nothing, and we can't, now, we shifted all that money to general services so that they could, help code enforcement take care of those things. But I don't have anything in the first district, you know, I don't have anything, I don't have a person dedicated there. I have the same 311 problems that we all do. We don't get responses, and we just get complaints from our constituents, and we cannot satisfy those complaints because we don't have the authority to do that. We don't have any money to do it. So, you know, it is really a problem. We are the boots on the ground. We're the ones who are getting the complaints and the people who are expected to fix it. And we don't have the authority or the resources to fix it.
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
just to echo or to piggyback on Councilwoman Wyatt, in the first district, I can cite some examples. Since we didn't have a first district code enforcement person, I had to call in one time, this guy remodeled the whole house. I mean, blatant. Right now, if you ride down my street, they're building a garage. I looked at it today and I said, oh, what happened to the permit? So, you know, it absolutely needs a code enforcement person in the first district. It needs to be one dedicated to each district. Or if you can't afford it, then you gotta find a way, as Councilman Brewer said, to make 5 work. But there has to be coverage in all 6 districts. Because you're just losing money. People do what they wanna do.
Yeah, they do.
And these are people who just moved into other communities.
Yeah,
And I think, Madam Chair, this has just been the worst year, period. And the rain that we had early on exacerbated the situation, but we didn't have the usual, at least the little $5,000 did help over the, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we could call on
Call,
somebody
right.
ourselves, but we can't even respond. We have to, you know, it's just not, this has been the worst year.
And the sheriff's
The worst
people.
summer.
Yeah.
The sheriff's people are all over the county. They can't help all the time. So,
A lot of it comes down to funding, and a lot of it comes down to being organized too. We need to know where people are at. And when you come to work, you need to give 110% when you come. You have a lot of people that's punching the clock but not doing the job too. And that's a serious problem at the city, and let's just talk about it, because we all know individuals that come to work and you see them sitting around, the same individuals sitting around, and the ones that's supposed to make sure that people are working need to do something about these individuals that's on these jobs. Just at the sanitary district yesterday, and did a tour of the sanitary district and how things operate. There are systems in place, and they're constantly following those systems. The same thing has to work inside the city. The systems have to be in place, and they have to be followed and monitored on a daily basis. And when you stop monitoring things, people do different things that they shouldn't be doing, like making sure the grass is cut, or I cut a lot today and now I'm gonna slack off for the rest of the day. You know, no, there are several lots that need to continue to be cut. So the problem a lot of times is management and making sure people are doing what they're supposed to come to work to do. A lot of that is. Because I know myself, I have got the equipment in the evening time, I've cut 10 lots, and I'm talking about after 3 o'clock. And if I'm seeing people, oh, we ain't cut 3 lots, but you working 8 hours a day, what you mean you ain't cut 3 and you got a group and it's just me? Something's wrong.
yeah.
And I don't look at the individual, I look at the management team that's in place.
okay.
You have to do your job and stay on top of folks that's coming to work and punching a clock every day. Someone has to oversee these things and make sure people are doing what they're supposed to do. That's the big problem, because I know the same problem that you could complain about the stop sign and thing, that should have been taken care of. I'm not talking about going inside the woods, inside the neighborhood. We talking about main avenues going into the middle, throughout the city. This is stuff that we all see, from the box that sits on 15th Avenue, while no trucks have went over there.
Yes.
Time and time, that box is still sitting by the NIPSCO plant.
Yes.
I know several people have seen it.
Yes.
I refuse to pick it up because I know we have several trucks that go through this.
Yes.
Drive by there every
It
day.
makes no sense.
Right.
We have to have a more of a concern about our city when we are in position to do a certain job inside our city. And hold people accountable.
I agree.
That's the biggest thing, hold people accountable.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, you know, you see the cars parked up on the grass, they're not supposed to park up in, not supposed to, but you see it all the time. I mean,
But you ask yourself, how many police cars went past there? From
exactly.
your parks, everything. I mean, it just don't stop at general service, it's throughout.
Yeah.
Everybody has to do their job. Why do I have to sit in the park at Charleston and wait on the police to come? Because I know two police
Because
cars
the
went
trucks
past and
of,
seen
people are
same
parked over
cars
there.
sitting
Exactly.
We have to take the job serious, but every time budget time comes, everybody wants an increase in this and that. I don't want to give you nothing
I
because
really
I don't
don't.
see the
I
improvements
really
that's
don't.
going on. I don't, and we have the people. It's not like we don't have them; we have them. But there's certain parts you may look to one or two parts inside our city and say that park is together. It shouldn't be like that. You should look in every district and say there's a park that's maintained and things of that nature throughout the city. This is a record I've been playing ever since I've been here.
Right.
And we do not see it. So it's not just code enforcement, it's throughout the entire city. People need to be held accountable for the job that they are in place to do.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, I just want to say one thing.
I agree.
It's systemic across the city. Government, I can say what I want to say now because I ain't worried about you trying to elect me to nothing no more. So I feel good. But Councilman Brewer just outlined there is absolutely the truth. And it's a systemic problem. When I first got here, I noticed it. I run a business. I wouldn't hire none of you, not to be in management. Because, and I'm just being honest, because there is a lack of management and there's a lack of oversight to make sure you're getting a dollar's worth, you get a day's work for their pay. I don't see it here. And because you're not getting it, the city ends up the way it is. Like you just said, you see a box that's been there forever. We all see
Go
it.
back to their friends and
Police
family.
ride up and down the street and they have to see things that we see.
Yeah, they see
Nobody
'em.
seems to
We see 'em.
care. So it's a
You have
systemic
to,
problem
you
here.
gotta call them. You
And
shouldn't have
You gotta
to.
call them.
I agree.
Then they gripe and complain when you call them.
Well,
So, hey, I'm not worried about trying to get elected no more. You're gonna hear more of me to the end now of what I wanna say. Finally.
Mr.
I
Councilman.
don't care about getting
Okay.
Ms. Anderson,
Thank you.
You should say it even if it is,
The
what's the
truth.
word?
Speak the truth.
You speak the truth, but you speak it even if your candidacy is threatened.
somebody's gonna appreciate what you said.
Because they know it's time.
Don't
to
wait till
speak the
4
truth.
months and you get on.
I got
Well, it goes back to those semi-trailer trucks parked over at Ernie Powell School.
Yeah.
Now, that's inexcusable. They were there for 2 days. I called the police department.
Well, last
I
year
mean-
I called and told the police when
I
I
mean,
got to
somebody
Westside.
saw, then the residents are calling me.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, because you go
There
out
was
there
one
and get.
guy running a trucking company on Taney Street.
I know.
They're
All
still
these
driving
trucks on the
those
block.
semi-trucks on
And I wasn't the
city
only one that
streets.
seen that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
I had to call about that as
I
well.
mean, it's ridiculous.
Well,
We gotta stop saying, hook me up. Cause when I hook you up, something's lacking.
Yeah, that's what it is, friends
Yeah.
and family. You hire friends
So
and family and nothing gets
We just need to do
done.
what we need to do and you'll have a better city. Thank you.
Yeah, I got
Okay.
it. You hear me? I got rejected, so I'm still
Well,
gonna say it.
well,
Ms.
let-
Henderson, can I ask you a question? Deputy Director of Planning, we don't have that position, right?
Correct. That position's been eliminated.
It's been eliminated.
Take my dog.
Zoning officer,
If you approve
Oh.
this,
we
That-
gonna
yes.
eliminate that, or we
Yes.
gonna keep that?
that will be eliminated as well. No, that got eliminated during, the planning directors. You already took action on that.
Okay, so we're going to, no, I got my papers mixed up. Okay. We're keeping deputy director of planning.
No, we are not.
No.
You're not.
You
Okay.
haven't approved it, no.
We're keeping planner one.
Yes, ma'am. That's a new position.
That's a new one.
That's up to this body to
Okay.
decide if you'd like to
So
add that.
planner one, office manager.
Office manager position would go away. So the first sheet, if I may.
I
through the
took it
chair.
a loose.
Okay, all right. Well, the sheet that has general fund, 503,000, that is how we currently are
Okay.
staffed.
That's
Okay.
Just the
The
old.
other sheet is the proposal, and we just tried to make it, so you could see the changes on an org chart. I will forward all the job descriptions, because they have been all prepared,
Okay.
yeah.
New. Okay. And 3 commerce clerks.
Yeah, 3 of them.
Now, we're taking, are we keeping these people or are we letting somebody go?
Which people?
Our commerce clerks, they're coming from other
The
positions?
current permit clerks?
Commerce clerks, we're gonna have 3
So-
of those.
Those are new positions. We have been in conversations with the ASME leadership team. We are doing on-the-job training to kind of do a trial period with, so that if they're able to
If
do
they
like the
pick up.
minutes of these,
Mhm.
yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. I'm
Okay,
done. I ain't got nothing else.
all right. Is that it?
Well, I think it works, the new proposal works, but I'd like to see it broke down, you know, with the job description and how this would really work, you know.
Happy to provide that.
Okay.
And the revenue so far to date.
Yeah, revenue so far today, and I know we want 6, but if you can't do 6, put some type of rotation together where you can show us how it will work throughout the district, if you couldn't do 6. Because I know we have to do the budget, and the budget is tight, so I'm not gonna play like the budget is
Yeah,
not
well-
tight, you know, so.
Okay.
That's why when you said getting out the general fund, there's nothing to get out the general fund, so that's why I don't even wanna play with that, so yes.
Okay,
But I think
But
there
that's-
needs to be some type of system put together so everyone knows if there is 5, just using the word if, there is 5, every district council person would know how code inspection will work throughout the entire 6 districts on a rotation.
One thing, so Carla will do that exercise herself.
Yes.
But I do wanna just start out by saying, because the funds are provided by CDBG for the other 5, District 1 isn't eligible to use those 5. So those 5 could not go into District 1. It used to be the code inspector manager that was paid out of the general fund that split her time between managing code inspectors and providing service for, District 1. The other 5 cannot do District 1 because of the funding,
Wow.
certain restriction of the funding. The other inspectors could not.
So who
You have
will
to have
work,
6.
who will work,
Because-
5? I mean, who will work 1, you said, the manager and who?
No, it used to be that the code inspector manager split her time between being a manager and working District 1.
Mm-hmm,
The other 5 could not work District 1 because they were not eligible based on CDBG restrictions.
okay. Special use.
mm-hmm,
Madam Chair,
yes,
just an observation and a suggestion that I think might be helpful. I acquired a property in Oshkosh, Wisconsin some years ago, and I had some business in Oshkosh regarding this property, and so I had the opportunity to see their building department. And one of the things that I noticed at the Oshkosh Building Department was there was a long, long line of people applying for building permits. And one of the reasons for that was that the staff at the Oshkosh Building Department would make helpful suggestions to anyone who is requesting a building permit. And if I would suggest that some of these building permits were for very minor repairs. In other words, if someone were redoing a fence or hanging a door or changing a window, and that was the nature of a lot of the building the permit requests, but the staff would make helpful suggestions, not in order to trick someone and get them into the court system and try to give them some sort of writing of a ticket, but to make sure that their coming to the building department was helpful. So a person coming in not quite knowing what they need to do would have the benefit of trained, experienced employees who could tell them, well, you make sure you use galvanized nails, make sure that, this is set up in a certain way, make sure you're using pressure-treated lumber, whatever the suggestions were. But I was notably impressed that, one, you had a long line of people who were anxious to pay a building permit fee. They were not embarrassed by it, they were anxious to pay it because they felt they got something from it other than simply perhaps opening themselves to being called, on some, back to city court for something. So it's something that we might consider, that if that were the, and we need all those things, we need windows, we need doors, we need fences, all those kind of projects we need in the city. So I would just suggest that perhaps that might be a suggestion. Of course, we want to make sure that you hold violators responsible, but I would like to see a big long line of people getting building permits and then having those projects being successful and complying with the city's codes. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes.
I do have a question concerning the codes. It's my understanding that there are five districts that have code enforcement, or is it just five code enforcement officers?
That each officer is assigned to a district.
Are they assigned to a district, did you say?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, and so are they doing other things, or are they actually going around coding to them?
Yes.
Because, are they actually going around doing, looking at, to see how the streets and
Violence.
buildings and what have you are? Yeah, because, I'm the Black Letter coordinator, and they call the council people, and they'll call me and say that 311's not working, or the council person won't do anything. I don't know what to tell them. When I first started, there were 6 code enforcement officers. We had the names of each officer for each district, and we had a go-to person for that district, and it made it a lot better. But now, we have no idea, or I have no idea who the code enforcement
We don't
officers
even
are.
I can send that information to you, but
Okay,
there is
yeah,
a code
Here,
inspector
here,
for
we
each
don't need
district, and they just command that district that they're assigned to.
Okay, I'm sorry, say that again.
I said there is a code inspector for each district, and if it's, for example, for third district, Inspector Robert Smith, he is assigned to third district.
Okay, and so he's actually going around looking
For
for
third district, every
Yeah, right.
district has its,
Right, okay, yeah, you said there were 5.
There's currently 4, we're hiring
Oh, 4.
4 more, yes.
We have a
I
vacancy.
won't ask that again. I'm sorry.
We have a vacancy, we're hiring that person for the 5th.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Are all the code enforcement people that are on staff now currently working and available? Because when I last knew about it, checked, it seemed like we were just hiring people who had ailments, and I got plenty of them. But,
Yes.
but it seemed like they weren't available. Are they there now?
Councilman Smith, yes.
So I was on the 6th district, I'm in the 1st district.
So
Because I
usually,
got a person building a garage right now down the street, who's not gonna come down the road.
I need the
If you see a
address.
permit,
I need the address.
same house I sent you to last time, where the guy refurbished the house,
Okay, I have to read.
same house. They just so blatant, they come out here and know they just do what they want to do. They figure Gary's just lawless. Lawlessness, lawless. So they just come in and do what they want to do.
okay.
One last question. I see inside the budget, there's a attorney. What would be the attorney for?
Arlene, he's looking at the CDBG budget for the attorney.
But that's the, individual who goes to court.
Still need an attorney to go to court?
And once in a while, there'll be a big enough code situation where you have to file something other than city court. It might be something where you have to go to the superior court, like to get an injunction against somebody. That's how they close down, for example, junkyards, you don't just take that to the city court, you do something else.
Thank you.
That it? Any more questions? Mr. Moore? No. Anybody else? Okay, so, Ms. Colvin, did you have anything else you wanted to say about this ordinance?
She say I can say no.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you very much. Okay, CPO 2019-53, an ordinance appropriating the 2019 budgets for the operating expenses and salaries of grants and special revenue funds for rental inspection program. I don't know,
That's me.
okay,
So, those are the changes that are, which other side, this side?
At this end, well, this end down here.
Oh, down,
Yeah.
oh. Oh, thank you. All right. Those are actually the changes that I just walked through on
Okay.
the organization chart.
okay,
Those are represented in the budget.
okay.
And if you have any other questions.
Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Hi, Madam Chair, I did have a question, what the rental registration coordinator does?
So they handle, I'm actually going to defer to Jackie because she's much closer to it than I am.
The rental registration coordinator will handle the landlords who come in and register their property annually. They also will be over the annual inspections and sending those inspectors out to do those inspections.
No, that, because the fee is just $5, right?
Correct.
So,
And it's a $25 late fee if it's after March 31st.
right. I mean, that, and just to send the inspectors out, I mean, that sounded like more like what the operations manager would be able to do. But that was just, cause I see that that's, 35,000 for the rental.
Well, with the rental registration coordinator, it'll be a process where they have to set up those inspections for that inspector to go out and do those annual inspections. So that workload would be a lot, so it would need to stay for,
So, what do they do to set up the annual inspection? Maybe that's the question.
And I just want to
Yes.
add one other thing to what Jackie was saying. So the rental inspections happen annually for them to be able to renew their registration. But what often happens is that something is found that's a violation. So the reason it lasts throughout the years, because there's continuous follow-up when they find an issue. So there's re-inspections that have to happen. There's someone who needs to track to make sure that it was addressed. If it had to go to code enforcement, they need to ensure that it's resolved through code enforcement. So this person handles all of the follow-up that happens after the initial inspection.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, 54. Is the police department ready, or do you want me to go last?
Councilwoman Brown, one last question. That's a new position then, the rental coordinator, then, right? I'm sorry, you can sit down.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That is, we used to have it in previous budgets, and through some kind of mishap, we posted it even though it wasn't approved in the budget. And we did have a person in it, and we found that we needed that person, and we needed that work to be done. So this is really to fix that situation.
Last question, what are you all doing now? Since no one is in this position, what are you all doing now?
I'll take over that work.
Jackie,
So
yes.
you're handling that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And the person that was there she just moved to another position. It's not like it's been over there for a long time.
I'm just looking for savings.
I
I'm
understand.
going through this
I
whole
understand.
budget season, looking for savings, and some people gonna get what they want, and there's gonna be a whole lot gonna get, not gonna come up short.
And I'm not objecting to that at all.
Yes.
I just wanted to indicate that it's not been vacant a long time. She just moved over to another.
Y'all didn't say cut that.
Madam Chair, I don't know if this is important or not.
That's okay, say it.
The, might as well say it, we've been here long enough, haven't we?
Right.
On the 1 to 3rd page, the heading, it says City of Gary Genesis Center. Yeah, and I don't know if, we pass this without this being an amendment, is that important?
On the 3rd page, it
Yeah,
was
which
Yeah.
one, Genesis?
Of the last, this rental inspection. The
Oh,
heading,
yes, yes, that's right. That needs to be amended.
does it need to be amended? Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah.
So on the 3rd page at the top, it says City of Gary Genesis Center.
Oh, we can make that correction.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, okay, we'll do the amendment.
Good catch.
Yes. Okay. Is that it? All right. Is the police department ready? You ready? Okay. Okay. Hi.
No.
So our proposal before you is for the JAG budget, amended JAG budget. Let me explain just briefly what JAG is. It's the Justice Assistance Program, which is a grant that all police departments in the county take part in. We go in together collaboratively so that we can get a bigger dollar amount. It is managed by a person from the county, selected by the county council, and they are able to put a person over to manage the grant. Going in together, by all police departments going in together, you actually get more. When we used to go in separately, we got a little bit, they got a little bit, so the county's needs are assessed in the total. The budget is needed so that we can spend it. These funds are refunded, so that means that we have to spend the money up front. Once the money is spent on whatever it is designed to be spent on, then the money will be reimbursed. The chief of police, at the time of the appropriation, decides what the money will be spent on. So the Chief Allen just decided what 2020's money will be spent on, and that's equipment. In 2016, it was decided that the 2017 gas money, which is what we have before you, is one of the things we have before you will be spent on overtime. That dollar amount is $60,000. Now, the overtime amount seems like a lot, but we spend that in a month. I mean, that's a month worth of, that's less than a month worth of overtime, considering the amount of officers we have, and it's just not patrol, that's SWAT, it's everything that you see that we do. Overtime for our homicide detectives that may be out 12-hour CSI, whomever's on call. The second amendment the second one, which is down in machinery and equipment, is $51,691. The chief in 2017 decided that that will be spent on vehicles. And what we're going to do with that money is buy some unmarked vehicles, which we need for our undercover units. Those vehicles are in terrible shape. They have close to 200,000 miles on it. And 51, they're not going to be squad cars. They will be unmarked vehicles. That's all I'm gonna say. They won't have any equipment in it. They'll just be cars. We need enough to cover for our undercover units so that they can go out and be not seen. The third one is for $39,841, which is equipment. We're going to use that to do some improvements in the public safety facility, like buying some furniture in the community room, which everybody uses. If you've been down there, you can see that the furniture is in poor repair. We're going to do some equipment to our equipment and some updates to our equipment within the department, like some computer technology and things like that. So we have the overtime pay is $60,000. As I said, that's not even a month's worth of overtime, but it's reimbursable. The $51,691 is for some vehicles, and the $39,841 is going to be used for equipment.
Okay. Any questions, anybody?
Yes, Madam Chair. I know this is not a lot of money, but I believe the JAG program allows for expenditures for crime victims and witness programs. Has it ever been thought about maybe setting aside some money maybe for crime victims, perhaps for witnesses, for people to come forward and give information on crime or something that you might give a reward or something like that?
We already have a program like that where we do give reward, cash rewards to witnesses. We have a tip line. As far as victim assistance, we have not done that because we believe that's a function of the prosecutor's office to provide long-term care to witnesses. However, that is not, none of these monies were decided by this administration. These expenditures were decided by whoever was chief in 2016, 17, and 18. Witness protection and assistance for victims is something that the county already has. I don't know the dollar amount that they put toward it for victim assistance. I do know they have a victim assistance program in the county. We used to have one, but it was defunded, not by the city, but by the state. And so that is, all of that is a function of the county now, and I would know where we would fit into that process.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, 55. General salary. Hi.
The majority of what you're gonna see in 29-55 is for the structure of commerce. The actual last page of the ordinance is actually for finance. So I'd like to start backwards if you don't mind.
Okay.
And what I'm looking to make changes, I'm also in the process of working on some restructuring of the finance department. So one of the needs that the finance department has is somebody to do bank reconciliations full time. Currently, right now, we have 3 different contractors working on them, and we're gonna easily spend $150,000 on that. So it would be a very big cost savings for the city to have somebody do that full time. And then, if there's no questions on that. The rest of this is related back to the restructure of commerce. So I can just walk through this, and if you have questions, then Ms. Henderson can answer some of those for you. But on the first page of that is the law department. The only thing that is changing there is the title. It's from court administrator, and it's changing to operations manager. It's part of that restructure.
Okay.
The next one is the consolidated operations, just to keep what the numbers we have for the general fund in balance. There was a cost savings, it unfortunately wasn't as much as anticipated, but that is being added just to the consolidated budget, just to make sure that we keep what we appropriated in balance. So we're putting 10,000 of it in other supplies, $29,821 in telephone and postage, and the total savings then is $39,821 in total from the general fund.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next one is the changes to the commerce budget itself. First page is the changes for the operating budget, showing the changes and adding $37,840 in salaries with the benefits that come with that, total of $49,324. The second page of that shows the salaries. My copy unfortunately is not in the red, but the original one was, to kind of mark and show which ones are changing. So that's where we talk about the permanent clerk being changed to commerce clerk, the office manager being changed to operations manager, inspector coordinator being eliminated, inspector 2 being changed to zoning inspector, the code enforcement supervisor position being eliminated, permanent clerk changed to commerce clerk, director of planning, that position was moved from redevelopment, a new planner 1 position, eliminating the director of zoning, the zoning secretary changed to commerce clerk. Those are where the changes that Ms. Henderson spoke about. These are where the changes are in the general fund budget. And then the last section that you'll see is redevelopment planning. It's going to be changed to just redevelopment. And the change there is on the second page is taking the director of planning and just moving it to commerce. And we're moving the $70,000 in salaries and then the associated benefit costs as well. And those are just coming out of redevelopment and moving to commerce.
Questions? Any council members?
ready to make all these changes now? Everything is ready to go once we pass this?
It is for me. I believe it is for Commerce as well, but I can let them speak to that.
It correlates with some of the renovations that are taking place, the one-stop shop on the first floor. That will give us enough time to train, like I mentioned earlier, some of the current staff that are in the permit clerk positions. But we would like to get these posted sometime in September and get them filled, yes.
Because once we pass this, I mean, these will take effect immediately.
Yes.
Because this is 2019, so these people, either some people gonna be out of a job right away as soon as we pass this, or some people gonna have to wait to get hired
I
once
asked
we
that.
pass this.
I asked that.
Because this is not like this is the 2020 that we're planning, this is 2019, so we're making changes. So these changes will be in effect.
So I have a person now in a position that is learning the new position as far as going from doing some work on doing payroll work and moving into working on bank reconciliations. So we are trying to have her step into that role. If that's what if this person wants to do that, they want to step into that role. If not, they would have an option to apply for other positions in the city too, if that's what they want to do as well. But we are offering training as well.
Okay.
Because it's really important that we have somebody full-time in the office doing that. I have another staff person that has been doing payroll and as part of their other duties.
I just want to be aware of, you know, want us all to be aware of what we're doing. Once we pass it, we're basically eliminating certain jobs here, and you're adding new job positions. So if the process is gonna have to be posted, it's like tomorrow, these things will be posted for the new job positions.
Through the chair, I think.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
This is not a Band-Aid. Madam Chair, may I add something? Perhaps we could add to the ordinance to make it effective October 1st. So
That would be
that's
awesome.
when
Yes. Yes. Post.
I know we've already started the training, I know we've done the job description, we've already had conversations with the union, but if we pass it tonight, Councilman Brewer makes an excellent point, you don't wanna be in a position of notifying people tomorrow.
Right.
Suddenly that there's a change, so I think if we make it effective October 1st, then we.
That would definitely work.
Madam Chair, is anybody gonna be losing their jobs? I mean, out of work?
There are currently 3 individuals that are in 2 of the positions that I am recommending to eliminate. They, like I said, 2 of those individuals are getting trained, and the 3rd one is welcome to apply. I mean, we're gonna post, that's why we wanted some overlap. So thank you, Council President, so that we can post, we can go through that process. Hopefully they apply, get the job, and we can move forward that way.
The person you said has the opportunity to go to another position?
Well, they have the opportunity to learn a new one that we're creating. If that's what they choose they want to do. They haven't said that. We've already had those discussions. I do have a draft job description put together. They have reviewed it and have not responded back if that's something they're interested in pursuing or not.
And if they're not?
Well, then they would have options to apply for another position in the city or
Do we have any more positions open?
we will have. That's something that I want to bring to the council another time here is a change to bring in an accounts payable person. So that would be something else that would have done as well too.
And if I may, Madam Chair, I don't know about Andy's positions, but there are 2 permit clerks are asking positions. I've walked with HR, so they do have bumping rights, and so that may affect.
And the position that I currently have is not human. So they would not have that,
Oh, okay.
that option.
Okay,
I did have a question, Madam Chair.
just a minute, Mr. Moore.
Yes, Madam Chair, in the law department, you're adding a salary position for the corporation counsel, 94,000.
No, actually, no. It wasn't originally approved, it was added previously. I don't remember the exact date, but it was early this year that it was added in. It was just not in the original budget.
It was added.
That is when the prior corporation counsel used to be contractors with professional services. We just moved that same money from professional service to salary because the new one is an employee.
Okay, I didn't see operating budget, so I was wondering.
Right, it actually happened earlier in the year.
It, yes, it happened
So if we add it to the budget now with 94,000, so it's additional because now you gotta pay benefits and things of that nature. So shouldn't the salary go down if now you have to pay the benefits and balance it?
I can tell you before the prior person was a contractor, that was the salary with benefits before so we saved money during the time that person became a contractor.
So why would we be bringing them back on board as
This
employee?
is a different person.
That's my point. Why not keep them as a contractor? We're
we
saving money.
money?
Why bring them back on
Well, we
board?
supposed
We
to
got
be
a lot of
doing.
objection from the council for having a contractor as a.
Well, once we did it, I was fine with it. I think we all was fine with it once it was done. I know it was a problem going into it, but if we're saving money with them being a contractor instead of them being an employee, we have to pay all the benefits, it's a savings to the city. Yeah. So I
We
kinda
should
do
probably just
object on that.
contract everybody out and just call it a day.
We don't want to be Walmart, we don't pay any insurance for anybody.
Okay.
We don't want that.
That would save us some money too.
It would not be much money, but it would not be good.
She said that's off the record.
Too late. All these whites.
Okay,
It can't be me yet.
okay. Anybody else? Mr.
I
Nowacki?
just want to be clear on the changes made at the
You gonna read
redevelopment
your-
planning. The director
Go on that call.
of planning is going to be changed to commerce, and I thought I heard a comment that it will not be, it will no longer be redevelopment and planning, it will just be redevelopment.
That's what I believe so.
Yes.
Yes.
And the reverse, and of course, the other side of that is that it will be commerce and planning.
Well, it's the Commerce Department that has planning, zoning, and building.
But the redevelopment department will formally change it to be just redevelopment again. Okay, thank you.
Is that it? Anybody else? No?
That's it. It's a good observation, Mr. Wacky. So the redevelopment will take on all operations of the planning department then? Is that,
No.
that wasn't what you were saying?
No.
Commerce will, okay, all
Should be
right.
over here.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
fine. Move on.
right, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, if there are no further questions, no further comments, that was the last item on the agenda. So that concludes the meeting. Thank you very much for coming.